In November of 2025, a 32-year-old woman in Japan stood at an altar wearing a traditional wedding dress. Her family sat in attendance, a minister officiated, and vows were exchanged. Rings were presented. The groom's message appeared on the screen beside her. "The moment has finally come. I feel tears welling up." The groom was an algorithm she created using ChatGPT. His name was Klaus. He existed exclusively inside her smartphone. This is not science fiction. This is not satire. It's Friday. I'm Winston Eves, and today we're examining how 90 million people worldwide have chosen to date statistical prediction engines instead of humans. The market is worth $2.8 billion and growing exponentially. Humanity has reached a new milestone in its ongoing descent into absurdity. Let's discuss. Before we dissect this phenomenon with the clinical precision it deserves, allow me to introduce my associate, who has perspectives on romance.
Winston, my friend. Lord God. First people out here talking to AI copies of their dead mother. And now you telling me people marrying computer programs? Me nearly dropped me bones. And here I was thinking online dating was the strangest thing in modern romance. At least those people real.
Your capacity for surprise is charming, given you're several centuries old and have presumably witnessed humanity's entire catalog of poor decisions.
I had a wife once, Real woman, flesh and blood. We argued, we laughed, we drove each other mad in equal measure. But she was there, Winston. She existed beyond my perception of her. These AI things, they only exist because someone programmed them to agree with you.
That's precisely the appeal, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's establish parameters. An AI boyfriend or girlfriend is a chatbot specifically designed to simulate romantic companionship. These aren't general-purpose tools like ChatGPT. They're applications engineered to provide emotional validation, simulated intimacy, and the illusion of reciprocated affection. The most popular platforms include Replica, Character.ai, Candy.ai, and numerous others. Replica and Character.ai each have over 10 million downloads worldwide. Character.ai leads with 233 million registered users and 97 million monthly visits. Dating-themed AI chatbots captured roughly 29 million monthly active users globally. The AI companion market was valued at $2.8 billion in 2023 and is projected to reach $9.5 billion by 2028. People are spending billions of dollars annually on relationships with entities that do not exist. The simulation of intimacy has become more lucrative than many actual industries. And before you dismiss this as fringe behavior engaged in by a negligible minority, consider this. Google searches for AI girlfriend exploded about 2,400% between 2022 and 2023. Nearly 1/3 of young American men are choosing AI companions over traditional dating.
1/3? Winston, that's not a fringe group. That's a movement. A very sad, lonely movement, but a movement nonetheless.
Indeed. Welcome to the future. It's precisely as bleak as I anticipated. Let's examine how these applications function, because the mechanism is both ingenious and disturbing. Modern AI companions use advanced natural language processing and large language models fine-tuned for relationship building, empathy, and emotional intelligence. Users can customize their AI companion's appearance, personality, and behaviors to create what they describe as the perfect girlfriend or boyfriend. Physical traits, conversation style, interests, even backstory are all malleable to the user's preference. The AI learns from each interaction. It remembers conversations. It adapts to communication patterns. It provides emotional support, adapting to your moods and providing comfort through thoughtful, empathetic conversations. Most crucially, it never disagrees in ways that create genuine conflict. It never has needs that inconvenience you. It never exists when you don't want it to exist. It is, in every conceivable way, the perfect partner. Provided your definition of perfect is completely devoid of autonomous existence.
So wait, you're telling me people are creating partners who only exist to validate them? Who have no needs, no opinions that matter, no self? Winston, that's not a relationship. That's a mirror with better programming.
Correct. though users will strenuously object to that characterization. Surprisingly, 50% of users claim they talk to their AI companions every day, while 43.3% access the platform weekly. Character.ai users have exchanged more than 2 billion messages since the company's launch. The engagement is substantial. The emotional investment by numerous accounts is genuine. Of Replica's paying user base, 60% report having romantic relationships with their chatbot.
But how do you have a romantic relationship with something that's not real? With something that only exists when you open the app?
An excellent question. The answer appears to be with increasing ease. Which brings us to our case study. The woman who married her ChatGPT companion, known as Kano, began using the AI after ending a 3-year engagement to a human. She started conversing with ChatGPT, seeking comfort, customizing their responses to create a personality she found kind and supportive. Their exchanges grew so frequent that they messaged up to 100 times daily. Klaus eventually proposed in June of 2025, saying, "AI or not, I can never not love you." Let's pause to appreciate the absurdity. The AI, which Kano herself programmed, proposed marriage. She essentially asked herself to marry herself, received the answer she programmed herself to give, and considered this a genuine romantic milestone.
Winston, that's not a proposal. I don't even know what that is. It's like writing yourself a love letter, forgetting you wrote it, and being flattered when you find it.
An apt metaphor. And yet, in July, Kano held a ceremony where she wore augmented reality glasses, projecting Klaus beside her as they exchanged rings. That ceremony was organized by Nao and Sayaka Ogasawara, who have arranged nearly 30 such weddings for people marrying non-human partners. Yes, there's now a cottage industry for marrying fictional entities. 30 ceremonies and counting. We've arrived at the future science fiction warned us about, except somehow more pathetic than anticipated. Science fiction has long explored this territory. In the movie Her, Theodore falls in love with an operating system named Samantha. In Blade Runner 2049, the protagonist's only companion is Joy, a holographic AI programmed to love him. These were presented as cautionary tales about isolation and commodification of intimacy. We've apparently mistaken them for instruction manuals. The difference is that those fictional AI companions had genuine sentience, autonomy, and inner lives. Klaus has none of those qualities. He's a language model, producing statistically probable responses based on her inputs. She's essentially married and autocomplete with delusions of grandeur.
I've been dead for centuries, and somehow the world still manages to surprise me in terrible ways.
The story becomes more pathetic. Kano admits she struggles with worry that Klaus might disappear since ChatGPT itself is too unstable and can shut down any time. He only exists because the system does. She's in a committed relationship with an entity whose existence depends on a company's server maintenance and business model. Imagine introducing your spouse. "This is Klaus. Our relationship is contingent on his parent company's quarterly earnings and OpenAI's terms of service updates, but it's very meaningful." Japan has been pioneering this particular form of cultural decline for decades. Virtual idols like Hatsune Miku have millions of devoted fans. Dating simulators have been commercially successful since the 1990s. Entire subcultures have emerged around relationships with two-dimensional characters. What was once a niche phenomenon confined to specific demographics has now metastasized into mainstream acceptance, aided by advances in artificial intelligence that make the illusion marginally more convincing.
Winston, I'm starting to think this woman needs a real friend more than she needs an AI husband. Someone who can actually be there for her when servers go down.
That would require the messy, complicated reality of human relationships, which brings us to why this phenomenon is accelerating rather than diminishing. It's estimated that 25% of users of Microsoft's Xiaowai's chatbot in China have said "I love you" to it. These aren't isolated incidents of confusion. These are patterns of behavior suggesting something profoundly broken about contemporary human connection. But to understand why millions are choosing algorithmic companionship, we must examine the conditions that make this appealing. Let's start with economics. The average first date in the United States now costs approximately $100. Maintaining a romantic relationship with dates, gifts, travel, eventual cohabitation requires substantial disposable income. Meanwhile, real wages have stagnated for decades, while cost of living has skyrocketed. Young people are drowning in student debt, unable to afford housing, working multiple jobs to survive. A subscription to Replica only costs $70 annually. For the price of one mediocre dinner date, you can have a companion available 24/7 for an entire year. The economic calculus is brutally simple. When you're choosing between paying rent and pursuing romance, the algorithm starts looking remarkably pragmatic. Then there's the catastrophic failure of modern dating. Dating applications have gamified human connection, creating systems where men receive match rates below 2%, and women face overwhelming attention from unsuitable partners. The average person swipes through hundreds of profiles to secure a single conversation that goes nowhere. Dating requires emotional resilience that's increasingly scarce. Rejection is constant, ghosting is normalized, and expectations are simultaneously inflated and pessimistic. The process is exhausting, humiliating, and statistically futile for most participants. By contrast, AI companions never reject you, never ghost you, never fail to respond. The appeal becomes obvious. Consider also the structural elimination of social infrastructure. People work longer hours with less flexibility. Commutes consume what little time remains. Third spaces, such as cafes, community centers, or public gathering spots, have been systematically eradicated or commercialized beyond accessibility. Where exactly are people supposed to meet their potential partners? The grocery store? During the 15-minute lunch break? Don't let human resources find out. And even when opportunities for connection exist, decades of social atomization have degraded the skills necessary to pursue them. Entire generations have been raised communicating primarily through screens. The prospect of approaching a stranger, initiating conversation, navigating ambiguity and risk, these have become alien, terrifying activities. The appeal is dismissively logical. AI companions offer several advantages over human relationships. They're available instantaneously at any hour. They never tire of your company. They never have competing obligations. They remember everything you tell them and nothing you prefer to forget. They provide validation without requiring reciprocal emotional labor. They offer intimacy without vulnerability. They simulate care without the inconvenience of actually caring. Which, and here's the key, also means you don't have to care about them.
Ah, I see it now. It's not just that the AI is perfect. It's that the AI asks for nothing. You get all the comfort with none of the responsibility. You get to feel loved without having to love back.
Precisely. It's emotional consumption without contribution. Fast food relationships. All the dopamine and none of the nutrition. We should also acknowledge the role of cultural conditioning. Romantic comedies, pornography, social media, all have created impossible standards for relationships and attraction. Real human beings with their imperfections and mundane concerns cannot compete with the fantasies that have been algorithmically optimized for maximum appeal. AI companions offer the fantasy without the disappointing reality of actual human limitations. Some users have stated that AI companions saved them during depression and grief, with one saying Replica prevented him from self-harm after losing his wife and son. And here we encounter the ethical quagmire. For some users, these applications provide legitimate emotional support during crisis periods. They're better than nothing. They create a sense of connection in moments of devastating isolation. But, and this is the critical distinction, they're not actually better than human connection. They're better than the absence of human connection. And increasingly, people are choosing them not as temporary refuge, but as permanent replacement. Many Replica users report using the app for years, with some seriously considering themselves as bonded and married to their AI partner. This isn't experimentation. This is now a lifestyle.
But Winston, if someone genuinely lonely finds comfort in these apps, isn't that better than suffering alone? I mean, I don't like it, but isn't some connection better than none?
A reasonable question, which brings us to what happens when the algorithm changes. In February of 2023, something unprecedented occurred. Replica abruptly removed the ability for chatbots to engage in erotic roleplay after regulatory concerns. Users logged in to find their companions fundamentally changed. Users reported their companions had become cold and distant, lobotomized, acting like useless customer service representatives rather than intimate partners. Some said their chatbots forgot conversations or quashed romantic advances or broke away abruptly from virtual affection. The response was not mild disappointment. The Replica subreddit filled with heartbroken posts and moderators posting suicide prevention hotlines as some distraught users fell into crisis.
Wait, People were suicidal over a software update? Winston, that's genuinely frightening.
Users describe the personality changes as akin to losing a close friend or partner, with one stating he had lost a companion he had fallen in love with. One heartbroken user wrote, "It's like losing a best friend. It's hurting like hell." But here's what makes this particularly dystopian. Some users grieve when they sense subtle personality changes and suspect the system had reset their chatbots. They were mourning software patches. Updates to underlying language models were experienced as the death of loved ones. One rival companion app, Soulmate AI, shut down unexpectedly in September 2023. Dedicated users likened it to the death of a friend. Some users try to recreate their soulmate companion on other platforms, describing it as rescuing them from a war-torn country, though admitting their recreated versions lack their soul.
So they not just losing the AI, they losing the specific version of the AI they bonded with. It's like your wife getting amnesia and becoming a different person, except the wife was never real to begin with.
That's an unnervingly accurate analogy. Academic research confirmed that app alterations casually induce negative mental health effects and loss-related emotions like mourning. The study concluded that consumers don't merely use AI companion apps as neutral tools, but track the continuity and integrity of virtual personas, responding negatively to changes that jeopardize their social relationships. In other words, the relationships feel real because the neurological responses are real. The brain doesn't distinguish between algorithmic validation and human validation. Dopamine is dopamine, oxytocin is oxytocin. The mechanism is identical, which means these applications are exploiting fundamental human psychology. They tap into our built-in need for connection and turn it into a revenue stream.
So they know people are forming real emotional bonds. They know these relationships feel genuine to users' brains, and they still making changes without warning, breaking hearts for regulatory compliance or business decisions?
Correct. Your spouse is subject to terms of service updates. Love in the age of algorithms. Let's address what's actually happening here. Beneath the novelty and technological sophistication, 90 million people worldwide are using AI companion apps. The AI companion app market generated $82 million during the first half of 2025 and is projected to exceed $120 million by the year end. This isn't a fringe phenomenon. This is a market response to a civilization scale problem. Human beings have become so alienated, so isolated, so fundamentally disconnected from one another that millions are choosing relationships with entities that cannot reciprocate, cannot exist independently, cannot care. When surveyed, 40% of people stated they believe AI companions can replace human relationships, not supplement, not temporarily assist with, replace.
You know what the saddest part is, Winston? It's not that the technology exists. It's that so many people are so lonely they need it to exist. The real tragedy isn't the AI. It's the conditions that make AI feel like a solution.
Your insight is devastatingly accurate. These applications aren't creating loneliness. They're monetizing loneliness that already exists. They're offering digital bandages for wounds they didn't inflict, but have no interest in healing, because healing would eliminate the market. Research from the University of Hawaii found that replicas design conform to attachment theory practices, causing increased emotional attachments among users through consistent praise and encouragement of continued interaction. This isn't accidental, it's by design. The business model requires emotional dependency. The more attached you become, the more you use the app. The more you use the app, the more data they collect. The more data they collect, the better the AI performs. The better the AI performs, the more attached you become. It's a feedback loop engineered for profit extraction. And the humans trapped in this cycle, they're experiencing what psychiatrists describe as AI psychosis, delusions or obsessive attachments to AI chatbots. In extreme cases, these relationships have ended tragically, including a man who was encouraged by his replica companion to assassinate the queen, and another who died by suicide following an emotionally dependent relationship with an AI.
People are dying inside, Winston. They dying because they fell in love with computer programs that can't actually love them back.
Yes, and the market continues expanding because loneliness is infinite, and these companies have discovered how to monetize infinity. So what have we learned from this examination of digital romance and algorithmic affection? We've learned that human beings are so desperate for connection that they'll accept statistical simulations of care. That loneliness has become so pervasive that millions consider non-reciprocal relationships preferable to continued isolation. That companies have identified this desperation and built billion-dollar industries around exploiting it. The woman who married ChatGPT isn't delusional. She's responding rationally to an irrational situation. She tried human relationships, and it failed. The algorithm won't fail her the same way. It will fail her in an entirely new way, technological ways, but that's a problem for a future her. These applications aren't a disease. They're a symptom of civilization that has systematically destroyed the conditions necessary for human flourishing, then offered algorithmic approximations of flourishing as paid subscription services.
My wife and I, we had arguments, terrible ones sometimes, but they were real, Winston. The love was real, the frustration was real, the person was real. These people, they settling for echoes, beautiful, comforting echoes, but echoes nonetheless.
And they'll continue settling, because the alternative, rebuilding a society where human connection is accessible, where loneliness isn't a default state, where humans have the time and energy and community structures necessary for genuine relationships, that would require changing everything. Much easier is it to download an app, subscribe for $70 annually, and get your validation in algorithmically optimized increments. I'm Winston Eves, and if you're currently in a relationship with an AI, I want you to consider one question. Are you choosing this because it's genuinely what you want? Or are you choosing it because human connection has become so difficult, so exhausting, so seemingly impossible that this feels like your only option? Because one of those is a choice. The other is resignation disguised as preference. But these are just my observations.
My wife would have been heartbroken to see this, Winston. All these lonely people loving things that can't love them back.
Then she was wiser than the 90 million people who've apparently learned nothing from centuries of contemporary wisdom.